Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at new versus old Prismacolors. I've been using Prismacolor pencils for a long time, but I didn't have any of the pencils since they were made in Mexico by the Rubbermaid, Newell Rubbermaid company. So the pencils that I had were barrel Prismacolors from the early 80s and also Sanford Prismacolors from the mid 90s. And I'd always been very happy with them, but I'd heard so many complaints from artists saying that Prismacolor quality wasn't what it used to be. So I thought that because the prices have been so cheap for Prismacolor pencil sets on Amazon, I just couldn't resist. I wanted to see how the new quality was because I like using Prismacolors, but I've been hesitant to use them on tutorials because I didn't know if I should be recommending them if the quality had gone downhill as bad as people have said. So first I'm going to show you the swatches that I did, then we're going to compare pencil to pencil, and then we're just going to do a little coloring demo. I'll do a petal of the cyclamen flower just so you can kind of see them in action. So like I mentioned, I've been using Prismacolor since the early 80s. I got my first set when I was 5 because my art instructor had my mother get me a set of either 45 or 60 Prismacolors, and so that's what I always used. They were always, you know, that was kind of the standard of colored pencils. So what I did first was I made a column for the new colors, and then I put there the old counterpart. Now some of these pencils I actually have the like the Sanford version, and then I have the barrel version, which was even older. So let's go through one by one and look at the colors. So first we've got the white. Prismacolor whites are fabulous. I've bought them open stock in the past, so I've gone through a lot of whites over the years. They do tend to be the one that breaks the most. I think they're just a little softer and more opaque. So that was the new one, and that was the old one. Both I just swatched a couple pencils I had. I think they were both the Sanford ones. And then not too much difference. I felt like maybe the older one was a little more opaque, but then when we look at it on black, they do look fairly similar. Can't really see what they look like on white. And then we've got this cream, very, very similar. And then on black, very similar. Then we've got the yellow. The Sanford does look a little richer. On black, they look the same. And on white, they look pretty much the same. Now on the peach, I think number 927, the new one looks more like the old actually the new one looks more like Sanford, less like the original barrel one, but still I would say it's pretty consistent. And maybe it's a little bit streakier of the new one versus the old one on black. Can't really tell the difference between the Sanford and the Rubbermaid one on the white paper. On the kind of golden color here, number 917, the new one looks most like the barrel, which was the older one. On black, the old one does seem to be a little bit more opaque. And on white, I don't really notice much of a difference. And so on and so forth. I'm just going to kind of show, I'll just put this up here. I thought that I liked swatching this on the tone tan drawing paper. I really like this paper. Just because I feel like it gives you a better representation of the color because you're on kind of a toned surface. So I thought them to be quite comparable. Any place where you see a B is where I had still one of my original left, like the ultramarine. I found there was a little bit of variance between the new ultramarine, the Sanford ultramarine, and the barrel ultramarine. This color 1040 was miserable in both the new and the old version, very streaky and kind of splotchy. You can really see it's very streaky on the white, but this is just a smooth cardstock like you'd probably use if you were rubber stamping. Cloud blue is a color I use a lot. I found it to be very consistent. You can see it over there. All in all, I thought coloring with them was very consistent. Now the pencils come pre-sharpened, and that's something that started recently. I think that's because it was probably a way for them to do a little quality control because the breakage was such a big issue and like the casing splitting that if they sharpened them at the factory they could maybe weed out some of the problem pencils. So I noticed that happened a few years ago. They started selling them sharpened. What people complained with about that was that, say you have a pencil here and it's starting to run low and then you get down to like a little nub, what you used to be able to do would be buy a new pencil and it would be unsharpened and you could super glue it to the end, and then you could just keep on using it and sharpen right through it and not waste any and not have to have pencil extenders. But they did start selling them sharpened a few years ago, and these were sharpened. They were sharpened with not quite such a steep point, so I used them, wore them down, and then I sharpened them to make sure that they did sharpen and didn't crack and didn't like splinter or anything. The only one I saw that had a little bit of an issue was this white, and I can see where the casing is glued together. It kind of wants to separate. I could stick my fingernail in that gap there, and I could break the casing apart if I wanted to. That's been an issue. That's an issue with older ones that I have too. So that's kind of always been an issue. I don't know why they don't glue them better. So now let's look at the pencils themselves, because when I first opened up this set, I was a little disappointed. I felt like the pencils to me felt like they were smaller. Like the actual size of them felt a little smaller. I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way so we have just kind of like a plain background to compare with. So what I did was I pulled the same colors from my other set. So these are both PC 934. Now they do seem to be the same size. The colors I felt matched really well. One thing that I found with the new ones though, and it's very minute, but the core seems to be a little bit smaller. It's hard to see on that one, but let me grab the white or another light color because make sure I don't get them mixed up. The newer ones have a silver writing and the older ones have a gold writing. Let me see. Let's try this cream. Is that the same color? 914. Yes. So in the older ones, I feel like the core is just a hair larger. I don't know if it looks like it with that one. Let's try these greens. I know some definitely look like this one here. Definitely. This is the old one here. Right here. This is the old one. This is the new one. And close up, it looks like the older one is a larger core, has more lead in it, basically. So the stuff you're paying for, the actual pigment, there's more pigment in the older ones. So I'm wondering if they've reduced the size of the core in the newer ones, maybe to make them resist breaking because you'd have a little bit more protection on the outside. Now, something I did with my older one, like this one right here, I'd sharpened it and it had broken. What I did was I took a rice bag. Now I sew these, I just make these little sacks and sew them with rice, nuke them in the microwave for 3 minutes. I actually the tip came out, I stuck the tip back in, I folded that little heat pad over it and just set it for 20 minutes or so, and I came back and then that had fused all back together. So that's a safer way to fix your pencils rather than microwaving them, which I've done in the past, but some people said they've started fires in their microwave doing that, so I don't want to condone it. But like these older ones, I do think the core is bigger in the older ones. And also, I don't know if you can see this on camera, I hope you can, but the core, not only is it smaller, but it's a little bit off center. And the issue you have with that is when you sharpen it, it could make it want to break. But the other thing is that, have you ever sharpened a pencil before and you have wood going all the way up to the tip and you can't write because the wood's in the way? That's another thing that happens when the lead is not centered up. So I think that was the big difference. The big issue I found with these is just that the cores seem a little bit smaller. Now, something else I noticed here is that this pencil has black writing and the other ones had silver, and this is one of the new ones. That's kind of weird. I think, the white one has black writing and the cream one has black writing and all the other ones have silver. So I thought that was a little strange. The reason I grabbed this set was because it was under $10. I didn't want to buy a huge set if they didn't, even if it was cheap, if they weren't any good. And also this one had 5 very thin pencils to try. I've never used those before, so I thought I would just try a couple. I don't think they're going to be my cup of tea too much because they're so hard, but I did want to just give them a go. So that's my thing. As far as drawing and coloring wise, I thought they were very comparable to the older ones that I have. I didn't have any issues with breakage on the new ones, and they were just as creamy and as colorful, and the colors matched really well as before, so I don't have an issue there. My big issue is I think you're getting a little bit, and it's not even a big issue, I think you're getting a little less pencil than you did before, and of course you can't just glue the new pencil on the end of the old one and keep on using it. It does come pre-sharpened. I remember sharpening my box of Prismacolors was like an all-day event. It was crazy because, none of them came sharpened. But I think that's probably a quality control measure. So what I'm going to do is zoom in, and we're going to color a petal here with the new version of the pencils, so that way you can kind of see them in action. I'm going to put the older ones away, and I'm just going to we're going to be using pinks and purples and cream and white for this. And let's zoom in and do that here. All right. So I'm still recommending them. I mean, they've been so cheap, and I don't know if it's like a brand saving maneuver that they're doing, but hey, if it is, then you know, hey, everyone can get a deal while they're trying to rescue their name. But I was just very hesitant to recommend these to anybody until I had tried some of the new pencils, because I'd always been happy with the old ones. So what I'm doing is just going in here with very little pressure with the PC994, which is processed red. It's like a permanent rose color almost. It's a quinacridone color, I believe. And I'm putting in my darker areas, just very, very lightly. This is going to be a little slot. I'm not spending a ton of time here. Then I'm going to go in with this PC993. Oh, this set, by the way, is the manga set. So that's another reason I grabbed it. It's something different. I haven't done any manga before, which is like kind of that Japanese type of kind of character art, but I always thought it was really, really cool looking. But I just thought it'll be a fun assortment of colors to try. Going in with some cream in the highlight areas. And I'm putting a little bit more pressure now. Another thing I like about the Prismacolors is that they do not take very much pressure at all to put down color. So anybody that's got some arthritis or some issues where it hurts to color for very long, this would be a better pencil. You know, and you might get fatigued after a while, but this one, the colors just go down a little bit richer and smoother than other ones. I mean, I have polychromos. I like the polychromos, but there's just something I always loved about Prismacolor. Maybe it's like a brand loyalty thing, but I just always loved those creamy, rich colors. I love the way they feel to color with. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way here. So I'm just going down with some more of that processed red. Deepen it down towards the bottom here. I'm looking at this plant right here, this cyclamen. I picked it up at the grocery store the other day. I managed to almost kill it already. Luckily my husband realized that it way too close to it on the mantle, and we have a wood stove. And he's like, "You are killing that plant." It just like completely keeled over. It was awful. I thought it was done for. Had all kinds of pretty flowers. Poor thing. Doing a little bit of this Parma Violet here. It's nice that they haven't changed the colors too much since I was a kid, because I was able to find matches for most of these. Not that I was a kid when I bought the second set, I was an adult, but I'm going to go back over with this color. And I am using long strokes to mimic the veins in the petals. I'm just varying lighter pressure as I get to the highlight areas. I'm going to go in with some white. I really do enjoy using colored pencils. I used them a lot more before I had children, and I think part of that is because I had a little more time on my hands. I could spend, hours on a painting. But once you have kids, you have to be a lot more. I would say the quicker mediums become a lot more appealing because you end up with less time to create. So I think that's why I went more towards watercolor. And plus you could just grab your watercolors. You only need a couple colors and you're ready to go. And with pencils, I feel like you do need it's nice to have a larger assortment. Now I'm going to grab some ultramarine blue and glaze over. I find these layer and blend pretty well on this. This is Strathmore Toned Tan. I'm just going to show you the cover. It's got the cowboy on it. It's got the green cover with the cowboy. I really love this paper for colored pencils. I feel like you don't need to put a lot of background in because you've got that neutral color. It's just very flattering. I always think craft paper is flattering. Even when I'm card making or scrapbooking, it's just such a flattering color. It goes with everything. It's like a very becoming neutral. It just looks nice with whatever you pair it with. And maybe a little bit of pink. So with these pencils, you got to be very careful not to break them, not to dropping them is bad, because then the pencils will, the leads will crack on the inside of the barrel, and then when you sharpen them they fall out. But you know, use the heating pad trick to fix that. And I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see the whole picture there. And you know what, I'm very pleased with them. I would go ahead and buy a larger set. I mean, actually I already have plenty, so I probably won't, but if I do see a steal of a deal, they had the set of 72 on sale for like $18 on Black Friday, and they actually had them at AC Moore for 20 bucks, but they sold out like immediately, so I didn't get any. But if they had had them there when I was there, I would have totally snagged them, because you know, it's just to replace ones that are kind of down to nubs that I have in my box. But it seems to me whatever quality issues they had, I think they've corrected. I'm not going to say the other artists that have said they're crap now are wrong. What I think probably happened when they switched over to factories, they went from USA made to Mexican made, I think they probably had some issues. They probably had some quality issues, and they probably released pencils that weren't that great, and that's what everybody had got, and that's what everybody was disgusted with. Going from this set, I have no qualms. None of these broke when I sharpened them. I did start sharpening them a new way. There's a fabulous color pencil artist. Her name is Lisa. She runs a channel, Lock Refine Art, and she gave the tip of turning the sharpener, not the pencil. And that has helped a lot to have my pencils resist breaking. So that would be one tip I would share if you're having issues, or using an electric sharpener, which I never really use. I have bad luck with electric sharpeners on colored pencils. I tend to ruin the sharpener. So that was a good tip, and I've been doing that since I heard it from her, and I haven't had any issues. So there's something that you can try. But you know, you can see I just feel like the swatch, well, there goes that pencil. I might need to put that in the heating pad. The thing, you know, swatching them here, I only found very minute differences, like with these, but that's 3 different versions. That's like 1980, that's 1995, and that's, you know, 2017. I only found very minute differences, and I found them to go down very creamy, not very streaky, except for that 1040, but that color was always a problem. And I would recommend them. I think they're a fantastic deal now that, you know, they are so cheap on Amazon. And I just wanted to satisfy my own curiosity and see if they were as bad as everybody said. I figured, whatever, I'll risk 10 bucks to give it a try and see how they work, and I'm very pleased that I did. If there's a screaming deal on one of the big sets, I might just grab it just for it to replace my pencils as I run out, because it's cheaper than open stock. But that's it. I just wanted to do this. I had a few people ask me to do a comparison or ask my opinion, and I just said I couldn't give my opinion until I tried them. I did buy these with my own money. This is not a sponsored video. So there you have it. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy reviews like this, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more reviews, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss when I post something new. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.